Alright, hey YouTube, Muckluck here, and continuing on my quest to try out and get a first impression of all the offensive supports in Guild Wars 2. Today, I bring you my experience with the Alacrity providing DPS Spectre Thief. That's a long title. They should call it something else. Okay, just to show the basics, just to show I have a basic understanding of the fundamental here. We're gonna start in combat with this thing. We're gonna prep the trap. We're gonna do this and this and this. And we're going to steal, and then do 2, and then 4, and then do 3 auto attacks, and then do 2 again, and leave that, detonate the thingy, and spam the 3 a whole lot, and use steal, and spam the 3 again, and then go back into Shroud, 2, 4, and 2 again, and start spamming the 3 key, and use the trap. And this is basically it. Now I just do this on repeat and try. It looks like our Alac fell off, so I should stay inside Shroud a little bit longer to stack it up a bit more. And I'm going to do that now. Okay, so that's the basic rotation. The Alac is definitely kind of tight to keep up unless you choose to stay in Shroud, which sometimes you absolutely should, to make sure that that Alac does not fall off. I'm doing currently 18.5k DPS. If the target is under half health, this build spikes in damage, and typically by the end of most of the fights, I would have around 20k DPS. So let's talk about the build. I used the build on Snowcrows for the condition Alacrity Spectre. So it was full Ritualist gear, and let me swap tabs here. Full Ritualist gear with Rune of the Trapper. With the weapon, we had Sigil of Demons and Doom on the 2 weapons. The only items I had the wrong stats on is a scepter, and actually I never use the pistol, so you can ignore that. They recommend having a pistol offhand so that if your Basilisk Venom is ever not enough CC, you can swap to it and spam pistol 4 for more CC. I literally never had to do that tonight. So I was just using these weapons, so I had one single item with the wrong stats. Everything else was Ritualist gear, and we had a food buff. I was running Deadly Arts, Trickery, and Spectre with this build and this stuff. How did it feel to play? Not too bad. I was honestly dreading doing this, and I did it early in this series just to kind of get it over with, because the heal Alac Spectre felt awful to play, and I never want to play that again. So I was really dreading this one, but this one's not nearly as bad because you don't have to target allies unless you want to. So going into it, essentially what you need to know to play this is you use these 3 almost off cooldown. They basically are just big damage. However, these 2 buff you and nearby allies with Venom, and then your next attacks do big damage. So you want to make sure you're near your group when you hit these buttons, but you can literally just go like bing, bing, bing. That one has a cast time, but the other 2 do not, so you can just slam these whenever they come off cooldown. After 3 seconds, you can hit this again for its damage. It takes a few seconds to prime, and then there we go. That's it right there. It takes a few seconds to prime, and then you can use it. This one, I really didn't like how it felt to use this, because it was like you had to, start it, it interrupts your attack sequence, it has a casting bar, and then you have to wait 3.5 seconds, and then you use it again. There is some tips on their website about if you want to swap out a skill, this is the one to swap out. If I were to ever play this again, I would absolutely swap that for something else and see how some of the other options feel, but this is what I played tonight. Okay, so we spam those off cooldown. To provide Alacrity, we basically just hit Shroud buttons. So we go into Shroud, and the rotation is essentially 2, and then 4, and then 2 again, and then you just do the 1 key at least 3 times before you leave the Shroud, and that's it. Everything you do in Shroud gives like a 1.5 seconds of Alacrity. If the boss is phasing, the boss goes invulnerable and is changing forms, you can just keep doing this, even at thin air, to stack Alacrity on your party, to take advantage of that dead time. Additionally, if you are in this form and your teammate, let's just pretend for a second this is a teammate, you can target the teammate and just keep autoing, and it just builds up stacks of buffs on them. Can I do this with the, can I auto the technician? No, she doesn't count as a PC. Anyway, you can auto the friendly and just stack up Rottweiler Venom on them, and then the next time they attack, it will do more conditions, which attribute that to you. So that was one cool thing I found about this class, is it can make use of, like, dead time. like time when there's nothing to do. You can, if you're in your shadow mode, you can stack Alacrity on your party. If you're not in your shadow mode, you can stack Barrier and Rottweiler Venom on your party. And then when the group finally does get to attack, you get to do more damage for those first few seconds because you did that. So that was kind of neat. I virtually never had to weapon swap the whole time I played this. Again, they suggested having the pistols so that you can spam pistol 4 for more CC when it was needed. There was never a moment where we had a break bar that I did, that Basilisk Venom plus my team was not enough. For those that don't know, when you use Basilisk Venom, just like the others two, it gives a buff to your whole team that as long as you're within range of them, and all of you do a CC on your next attack. So basically you just cast this and then you usually would see a huge hit on the break bar afterward. It was really nice to have that. So this uses Ritualist gear, comparing to the last class I did, which was the Power Quickness Deadeye. The Power Quick Deadeye used Berserker gear. So this is a bit more niche to gear, because like if you gear up the Power Quick Deadeye and it's Berserkers and you try it and then you're like, I don't really like this, you could take that Berserker gear to like a million other builds. The Ritualist gear is more niche. So it is more like, be sure you want to do this before you get this gear, because not every class has builds that use this that you might want to play. One advantage, this build is all ranged. The complete opposite of the last build I did. This build is entirely ranged and very easy to, just keep doing this. I actually really enjoyed the ranged and the rapid strikes in Harvest Temple when we were pushing the orb around, because pushing the orb, you need damage on it, and also you need quantity of attacks, not quality of attacks. So the fact that this is ranged and it hit very quickly was awesome, and it was very easy to push the orb where I wanted it to go. Now in that fight, I was not the support, and there was quite a few people dead, but we did finish the fight with like 5 or 6 people alive, I think it was 6, and I was one of those people. I was able to do that. Let's see, we have access to stability in Shroud form. When we are in the Shroud form, the 5 key gives stability to our team, which I utilize many times for small advantages. For example, when we're fighting the Polar Bear Strike and the one brings down the big hammer, if I was in Shadow mode, I would pull stability to my group just to negate the knockdown. And that's without changing the build. If you do want to change your build to be better for a fight, you could get rid of the 1,000 Needles and take which is the stability well of Bounty, which gives your whole group stability, and then you've got a stability source accessible to you no matter which form you're in, because you've got one in Shadow mode and then you'd have one outside of it. So you do have a little bit of utility you can bring your party besides the pure damage plus Alacrity. For example, the Deadeye that I played yesterday, the utility it provided was almost none. It provided almost no utility, at least the way I learned to play it. And you're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but it was essentially like, I do quick, I do damage, that's it. That's what you bought, that's what you purchased. Where this guy, you've got some stability, you've got a little bit of barrier and healing on teammates. It was pointed out to me that in the second form, the 2, every time you do this, it also cures a condition off of your whole team, so you can help with that. And there was a couple times when health bars got a little scary, and I used Well of Gloom, which although I wasn't built as a healer, it still did a few thousand healing in a large area, so I was able to help the healers stabilize the group just so the scary moment ended, and it was kind of cool having access to those. Additionally, although in the end, the total damage I did on this character with everything included, all the venoms on teammates and stuff, was less than what the Power Quick Deadeye was doing, it still felt really fun. Just, my brain made the happy juice with just the interactions that these work. Running over to my team and, putting a venom enchant on all their weapons, and then everyone doing a larger amount of burst damage for a few seconds because of that just felt good. Like the venom skills for me feel fun. This one didn't, because it was like it interrupts what you're doing, has a cast bar, wait 3.5 seconds, do it again, and then boom. So I would absolutely try the version of this build that doesn't use 1,000 Needles if I were to ever play this again. However, it is a lot of damage and conditions in a very large area when it goes off, so there's a lot of cleave here. So if you're fighting a lot of enemies, this does truck all of them, which is nice. So for some encounters, it was really good for that reason. Did I have any other notes here? 26k health. When I was on Power Deadeye, I had 14k, but this guy, because it makes use of Ritualist armor, we had 26,000 health. That's without a food buff, but with a Jade Core. So very sturdy. Plus, when you're in Shroud, your Shroud acts as your hit points. So I was over 30,000 health when I was in Shroud form. On that note, that actually brings up something else I just thought of. In a fight where there's a lot of incoming damage, and because I test these usually in strike missions, the easiest example is Bone Skinner. It was difficult to keep alacrity up on those fights only. On any fight where I let Alac slip, it was because of my own inexperience with the class, but on the fights that I, was able to stay focused on what I was doing, I was like near 100%. Bone Skinner, I would go into the Shadow form, Shadow Shroud, and I would start doing my Alac buttons, and then he would, his pulsing auras hitting the whole room. And even though the healers were doing a good job keeping me up as long as I didn't stand in puddles, it was knocking me out of Shroud after like 3 or 4 seconds. Usually I stay in Shroud longer than what he would allow me to keep that alacrity up on the party. So alacrity was, I was definitely slipping on alacrity on Bone Skinner because he kept knocking me out of the mode I need to be in to provide it. Now, I don't know if there was something I could have done better to play there, or if there was some better sequence of my skills I could have done there to provide that alacrity better. I'm not sure, or if that is just like, oh, that's how it is for that fight, and that's it. But yeah, it definitely hurt my Alac uptime, but that was not the normal. I did what did we do? We did Harvest Temple, Temple of Phoebe, and all the Icebird Saga Strikes, and it was only on Bone Skinner that I had that issue. It was only on that one. The others, I was not taking enough damage to affect the alacrity uptime. But it was interesting. That was an issue I had on this guy that I've not had on anybody else. Oh, boons. The build actually gives more than just the alacrity. Let me go here, and I'm going to respawn the golem, and I'm going to here, adjust self, and I'm going to remove my boons, but I am going to re-add just quickness just to speed this up, okay? So quickness is from the console. So if I go over to this golem, and let me do my rotation again for a few seconds, and let's do this, and this, and this. And if you look at my boons down there, there's a lot of other stuff besides the Alac. You see that? There's Vigor, there's Swiftness, there's Fury, and there's 5+ stacks of Might. And, all right, I'm kind of getting lazy with it at this point, but you see what I mean. This build actually pumps out almost 100% Vigor, Swiftness, and Fury uptime, and 5+ stacks of Might. So very nice niche little bonus there. Most healers will provide all of that, but if your healer is slipping in any way, and you're just you're the Alac DPS, and you've got a quick heal, I don't know, a Firebrand maybe that's new to the game or something like that, and they're slipping on the boons, you would be patching that up, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that this takes some of the, weight off of that healer's shoulders. I do like that. That's pretty neat. So that's definitely a little check mark in the pro column for this build. But yeah, that's it. I would say, given my own inexperience with Thief, I log on to it to test out a build like once a month. I felt like it, once I put the gear together, which, I have legendary gear, so getting Ritualist wasn't a big deal for me. It might be a bigger deal for some of you. And then I practiced the rotation for like 15 minutes. I was able to get just short of 20k on the Golem. I would break 20k once it went under half health because of the traits it has that kick in and you do more damage when the target is under half health. The teamwork aspect was nice. You have a, not massive, but you have an area heal you can help out. You have buffs to your allies' damage. You can take advantage of downtime by stacking damage and barrier in between boss phases. You have a little bit of stability on demand for your party when you see something coming. If you don't trust the healer or you don't know them because it's like a pug and you haven't played with them before, you can take care of that stability yourself and still be putting out respectable damage. Not as much as the Power Quick Deadeye. And again, I'm doing a lot of comparisons to that because that's the one that I've done before this one. This one, at its peak, I think does less damage than that, and that also reflects not only in my own experience, but also on the Snow Crows, where they do all the parses. They benched it as a slightly lower number, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So yeah, pretty easy to learn, not nearly as painful as Heal Alac Spectre was. There's probably some things I could have done better, but that was my experience on this class. And yeah, if there's one that you would like to see me test after this, we're slowly working through all of them, let me know in the comments down below. And if you've got any feedback on how I could have done this better, definitely let me know, because I'm trying to branch out a little bit. All right.